Today's Republican Party opposes big government. It's culturally conservative. Its demographic support is strongest among white voters, and it usually dominates elections in the South. The party's 2016 presidential nominee has been heavily criticized for inciting racial tensions. But things weren't always this way.
Yeah, shout out to the Washington Post for pointing that out.
Over the past 160 years or so, the party has undergone a remarkable transformation from the party of Abraham Lincoln to the party of Donald Trump. To understand how the GOP got this way, you have to go back to when it first came into existence in 1854, just 7 years before the Civil War. There are two parties at this point, the Whigs and the Democrats. America is quickly
It's actually the Whigs. When he said the Whigs, I thought it was going to be, no, I did not think that it was going to be actually the Whigs. It was the Whigs. Is this because they used to wear the little white wigs back in the day? Is this what they, wow, the Whigs.
There are two parties at this point, the Whigs and the Democrats. America is quickly expanding westward, and there's an intense debate over whether or not new states should permit slavery. The Democratic Party, with strong support in the South, has become increasingly pro-slavery, but the Whigs are divided on the issue.
Okay, so Democrats was extremely pro-slavery, but the Whigs, who are the Republicans, were against slavery, or they was trying to bring slavery to a halt.
South has become increasingly pro-slavery, but the Whigs are divided on the issue. Their northern supporters are really afraid that the growing number of slave states would have too much political influence, which they feared could really hurt free white workers economically. So in 1854, the country is debating whether—
Whoa. I see. I thought they was against it for something they're going outside of money or outside of just only affecting white men, but they didn't want white men to be able to be affected negatively by this. Okay. All right.
hurt free white workers economically. So in 1854, the country is debating whether or not the territories of Kansas and Nebraska should allow slavery. The Whigs can't agree, and the party ends up collapsing. The former Whigs in the North form a new party that will fight against letting slavery expand any further. They call it the Republican Party. By 1860, the Republican Party has become increasingly powerful in the North, enough so that a little-known Republican named Abraham Lincoln wins the presidency. Even though Lincoln
Man, let me tell you something, dude. Let me tell you something, brother. I don't know your background or any of that, but what I do know, dude, these goddamn graphics are amazing. The graphics are amazing. Just in case I ain't say it already, they're amazing, bruh. Sheesh. What in the world type of, man, this is high-level stuff right here. Okay.
Promises he won't interfere with slavery in states that already have it. He and his party are still too anti-slavery for the South to tolerate. So 11 southern states secede from the Union, forming—
So the Confederate flag that black people look at as a daggone swastika when they see somebody flying a Confederate flag, all started from the democratical regions, but it means something different too that a lot of people don't. So okay.
For the South to tolerate. So 11 southern states secede from the Union, forming the Confederate States of America. The northern states decide to fight to keep the Union together, and the Civil War ensues. The result is a northern victory and the abolition of slavery nationwide.
Wow. So I'll say roughly, let's just say probably like a third, rather than to say a quarter of the people who were helping to vote these things in place were completely against slavery. And I say a quarter because it seemed like the South were against it for the great majority. The North were pretty much half and half. They didn't know what they wanted at that time. Someone wanted this, someone wanted that. So yeah, okay. And that's how they separated. And the Republicans became, and they were still somewhat separated, but they was fighting for the abolishment of slavery, and it worked. So yeah, I don't know if I had a question in there or anything like that. I'm just enjoying this. Hopefully you are as well.
After the war, Republicans began fighting to ensure that recently freed slaves in the South have their rights. A year after Lincoln's assassination, the party passes the Civil Rights Act of 1866. They fight to make sure that black men have the same right to vote with new laws and constitutional amendments.
Let's go! Yeah, okay. Yeah, that one's worthy of celebrating right there. Woo! Hold on, let me push my button. Woo! Yes. Yes. Oh, yeah. Woo! All right, done celebrating.
That black men have the same right to vote with new laws and constitutional amendments. But something had happened during the Civil War that began changing the young Republican Party. Government spending during the war made many northern businessmen really rich. Gradually, these wealthy financiers and industrialists start taking more and more of a leadership role in the Republican Party. They want to hold on to power, and they don't think that fighting for black rights in a mostly white country is the best way to do that. Meanwhile, the South is resisting these new racial reforms, often violently.
Wow, that's okay. You know what? I completely understand that. I completely understand that. At some point, it was going to go there anyway, right? I mean, come on now. The rich get richer. They ran up on a lick. They made out like fat cats. Clearly, they had the one fat dude in the suit with money coming out everywhere, looking like Scrooge McDuck. You know what I mean? But rich as heck, and plus all of his friends, they're gonna want to figure out, how can we keep this going? Let's have more meetings. How can we do more? How can we do more? How can we do more? That's what business people do. That's what me and other business people do. That's what we do. We get together and try to figure out how can we be more successful with one another. You know what I mean? That's how it should be. But they started looking like, okay, I don't think, I mean, we feel like, you know, if the country is majority white, and we don't feel like all that stuff that you fighting for is something that we want to fight for anymore. We trying to get money. And down there is a whole lot that we're not getting. So we about to vote. We about to make some changes, brother. And that's exactly what happened. So it became about money. Money. It's us that that care about the people. It's us that care about the people. But when it comes to the government, it's about money. That's why I don't like when people fight so hard to defend. And I mean, I'm trying to just yell at each other and be about to fight just to represent their party. No, it's about the people. It's about us. This is how we fix it right here. This is how it gets done. Because right now, the thing that's turning people away from not only the country or from their morality is social media. All over social media, the worst things are being shared right now. All over social media. And that's with the help probably of some of y'all children. Y'all children probably like to look at it and just, look, TikTok, new TikTok. Or a new progressive kid that's speaking up about this issue and that issue. And then it gets sent around. Now here's a fad that everybody want to be a part of. And now look where we are now. Okay. Sorry.
And most white Republican voters and leaders now feel that they've done enough for black citizens in the South, and it's time to emphasize other issues. So in 1870, the party basically gives up on reforming the South, deciding instead to leave it to its own devices. The region becomes politically dominated by white Democrats.
Now, that's the Jim Crow law, right? That's the Jim Crow law. I know what time he's talking about. He didn't express it exactly, but he's telling the story. So he just now described that, I believe. Right when two presidents made a deal, well, two people who were running for president made a deal with one another. And the one who ended up winning was a Republican because of that deal. But he ended up doing some of the things that the South wanted done in order for that deal to go forward and for him to get the votes that he was supposed to get from that other whoever was running in the South. And they said, well, you know what I mean, pull your military up out of here because we want to do what we want to do. And they did exactly what they wanted to do. And that right there is the reason why you see many videos right now of people talking about slavery and you know, where slavery came from and how important is it today in America, and why black people won't stop talking about slavery. Why won't they stop talking about slavery? That's because sometimes it seems like, and it's unfortunate, it seems like sometimes our power is in our oppression. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, but it seems like our power is in our oppression. The world is against me, so I gotta be 10 times stronger. They hating on me. You ever heard somebody say, man, I got haters. Everybody keep on hating on me. Most people don't have haters. But in order for them to push themselves forward, they got to feel like they have an enemy. Like they have something wrong with them that they need people to feel ashamed or feel sorry for. So, yeah, oppressors need to have that fight. Now, the new oppressor is the LGBTQs, the ones who are trying to press, not all the LGBTQ, let me put that out there, but the ones who are trying to thrust certain things in people's faces, specifically children, they're nowhere near ready for. So,
fast forward to the new century. By the 1920s, the Republican Party has become essentially the party of big business. This works out quite well for them as the economy is booming, but not so well when the economy crashes in 1929 and the Great Depression begins. Franklin D. Roosevelt and other Democrats are swept into power and begin dramatically expanding the size and role of the federal government in an attempt to fight the Depression and better provide for Americans. Republicans oppose this rapid expansion, defining themselves as opposition to big government, an identity that the party still holds today. Going into the 50s and 60s,
oh, so they saw that the South's power was growing a lot more, so their pivot was to act as if they were more for the people than they actually were. They say, hey, we're against big government. What you doing growing bigger than us? What you doing growing bigger than us? We are against you now. When we were big, we wasn't against big government. But now that y'all are bigger than us, we are against big government. You see that hypocrisy in that? And we fight for that. That's what we fight for. We fight for one or the other side, and they both have their own agendas, and we're stuck holding the bill. They fight, they claw, they do all this stuff. They like, you know what? The Republican Party and the Democratic Party are like a toxic couple, a toxic, not married couple. I'm not going to say they're married. Because they get hot and heated. They like to fight. They like to put on a show. The January 6th hearings. Everyone needs to watch it. Boom, on MSNBC, on CNN, on ABC, on this, that, and other. How come Fox not watching it? We need for them to watch it. Fox like, we're not watching that. And while they're saying that they're not watching it, they're actually freaking watching it, because I did a reaction on Tucker Carlson speaking on it, and it wasn't Tucker, it was someone else who was speaking on it, and it was live right there while it's just the whole, you know what I mean? They just play their games. But then once we're held with we're all the restaurant with them, and we have a real good dinner, and then they start arguing the same way they always do and getting all disrespect with each other, and then our nights are ruined, and then they go home and they bang, bang, bang. Because they never broke up. They were just putting on a show. These guys are actually friends with one another. On both sides of the aisle, these guys are actually really friendly with one another. Let me get back to this. I'm doing way too much rambling, but they are really friendly with one another. They're just playing the game of politics. And there are some people who are collateral damage, unfortunately.
Race and the South returned to the forefront of national politics, with the civil rights movement attempting to end segregation and ensure blacks truly have the right to vote. The civil rights debate isn't a purely partisan issue. It's more of a regional issue, with Northerners from both parties supporting it and Southerners from both parties opposing it.
Wow.
Then, in 1964, it's Democratic President Lyndon Johnson who signs the Civil Rights Act into law. and it's Republican presidential nominee Barry Goldwater who opposes it, arguing that it expands government power too much.
Now, whenever black people start, you're debating with a black person, you're debating with a left-wing person, and I'm talking to the conservatives, and you start talking about how you are the party who abolished slavery, and they say, oh, but y'all was the party that were against the Civil Rights Act, and you know what I mean, and so it can go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and it just becomes nonsense. It's this tennis volley is something that we all become a part of. Just
a massive switch-up takes place. Black voters, some of whom had already been shifting from the Republican Party, convert almost entirely to their new advocates, the Democrats.
Exactly.
The white voters in the South, who had been staunch Democrats, start to really resent the big government interference here and in other matters like abortion rights and school prayer. Over the next 3 decades, whites in the South switch to the GOP, which makes the South an overwhelmingly Republican region.
So, at this point, so hold on, I need to fully understand this right here, because this right here is it's a little troublesome for me. All right, so the people in the South, they see that things are starting to switch. Things are starting to switch, and these people are, I'm talking about the extreme racist people, the people that wanted nothing to do with black people whatsoever. They are still in the South when the Republicans are starting to have more of their views. Not their views, but they're not ready to buy into it, but they're also not ready to buy into the Civil Rights Act, right? So they're saying now that all of those people are still, I don't know how much they progressed, but those ones come from the families who were trying to keep things as white as possible. So when you see those type of things, I just want y'all to understand this here. People who look like me, when they're always arguing about the Make America Great Again thing, and the reason why man, shout out to Mr. Truck 1012, it's because of that again thing. They're like, okay, you're the party who decided to vote against the Civil Rights Act. You're the party who are the reason why we are now Democrats. All of us, to a fault. Now, whatever they do to us, we know that they're doing it to us. We know that they're trying to kill us. We know that they're trying to just throw money our way so we can just not be involved. We get that, and it's working. We know that they're not doing anything to build up our communities with our tax money. So guess what we do? We take some back. We say, we ain't working nowhere. Give me a check. Since that's how you want to play it, I ain't going to be the only one that's going to be getting used. So now it's very difficult because they know that they're getting screwed, but they're always being constantly reminded, why y'all doing this? So a lot of them are actually secretly voting Republican now because blacks are far more conservative. Well, I can't say they're more conservative than white people, but black people are naturally conservative. From what I know it. Now, I can't tell you, I will say from what I know, the black people I know, from all the churches I've served in, and everything, is like they're naturally conservative. But that environment that we grew up in, it forces us to have that liberal mentality. I'm inside of a cage. I acknowledge that I'm inside of a cage. I acknowledge that my people was enslaved, and that's all we're taught, and we're taught that in our schools and all this other stuff. I acknowledge all these things. I'm going to constantly repeat it all the time because right now that's my one thing that I can always hold on to. I can call somebody racist because of what happened to me, because of what's happening to me. If I completely move over to Republican, I'm talking about black people. They do it outwardly and just start to show that they understand the accountability and all those other things. and they're no longer wanting handouts from the Democrats, who are always doing it blatantly just to keep black people on the string. I get that. I understand that 100%. But at the end of the day, they're like, look, you want to use me? I'm going to use you. That other party, I don't even care to know nothing about them. I think I know all I need to know because my ancestors or my aunts, my uncles, my mother, my father, my grandfather probably told me some stories about the party who was against the Civil Rights Act. So I'm not looking at any information. I don't care if that brother looked black. His name is LFR. What's his name? LFR? LFR? I don't care. He checking out that stuff. Nah, you know what? The fact that he's checking it out, that's Uncle Tom right there. He can have that. Sorry for running my mouth again.
By the 1980s, the party begins to resemble the GOP we are familiar with today. Republicans elect Ronald Reagan, who promises to fight for business interests, lower taxes, and traditional family values.
Ronald Reagan.
As the 21st century begins, America is going through a major demographic shift in the form of Hispanic immigration, both legal and illegal. Democrats...
Hold on, one more thing. I apologize. This is the last time I'm talking. I promise. No, I don't promise. But this, I'm not going to be too long. Did y'all know that Ronald Reagan is the president that the black community blame 100% for the crack epidemic? Yes, Ronald Reagan. Now, I'm still looking into that because there's a lot of stuff that says that he is the reason why crack cocaine even came to, the country via, I don't know, cocaine. I don't know what he was flying over here, but that's the word on the street. All right.
And business elites tend to support reforming immigration laws so that the over 10 million unauthorized immigrants in the US would get legal status. On the Republican side, tough on immigration policies and rhetoric became popular. But this ends up costing the Republicans when, in 2012, Mitt Romney loses his bid for the presidency. He gets blown out among Hispanic voters. Exit polls showed that 71% of them voted for Barack Obama.
I'm sorry for smiling with him, man. That's my guy, bro. I know y'all don't like him. That's my guy, man. Look at him. He look like me. We got big ears and everything. Got a big old head. He got a big forehead just like me. Look, if you go to my LFR family live Facebook group, you'll see I got one that's talking about my forehead. Look just like his forehead. Yeah. So why wouldn't I be? Come on, we got the same forehead.
So the Republican Party starts to look more like a party for white voters in an increasingly non-white country. Given these demographic trends, Republican leaders worry that if they keep losing Hispanic voters by that much, they'll lose their chances of ever winning the presidency. So in 2013, some key Republicans in the Senate, including the rising star Marco Rubio, collaborate with Democrats on an immigration reform bill that would give unauthorized immigrants a path to legal status. But there's a huge backlash from the Republican Party's predominantly white base, which views the bill as amnesty for immigrants who broke the rules. This exacerbates the GOP voters' mistrust in their own party leaders, a mistrust that has already been growing for some time. And that makes the political landscape of 2015 fertile ground for a figure like Donald Trump, an outsider businessman who wants to build a wall on the border of Mexico. Trump isn't a traditional conservative, but he appealed to the resentment and the mistrust of party leaders that Republican primary voters had.
Trump, what he did was he gave a voice to the quiet majority. That's what he did. He gave a voice to the quiet majority. Yep, that's what he did. And that's why a lot of people love him for it. It's good to be heard, not to be ignored. Because for years, it was like, black people went through this, let's give them that. Black people went through this, let's give them that. Nah, that was just a certain group of politicians who was trying to win over certain things, so they was doing those things. That's it. But the whole while, there's an equal amount of broke-ass white people, too, who aren't getting the same aid. They're like, what about us? What about us? Rich people, too. What do you mean? You're going to keep on giving them all this money? Where's it coming from? I'm sorry, what? You're going to raise my what? And how does that benefit me? It don't? Please make that make sense. That's it. Please make that make sense.
As well as the strong opposition to growing immigration trends. And even though he was loathed by party leaders, he won enough support in the primaries to become the GOP nominee for president. So now, the Republican Party is once again at a major crossroads as it tries to meet the political challenges of the 21st century. It's up to Republican voters and leaders to decide just what they want their party to be.
Yeah, man. So now we are. Hey, great job, bro. Vox. What's his name? Vox. Yeah, that excellent job with the daggone. That was beautiful. That was very well put together. I'm sorry I had to listen to my mouth for the great majority of it. But I already said enough, man. I'm not gonna say anything else. But I do want to hear what y'all have to say, and I'm certain y'all have already started firing off because it is at the latest minutes of the video, and great majority of you probably already left. But hopefully we can have a good conversation in the comments below, and if you have yet to hit that subscribe button, please make sure you do so on your way out the door. Once again, guys, I'm Van. Now we are all the LFR family, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video, hopefully inside the Patreon as well. Y'all have been amazing, man. I love y'all.